Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today? Very good. Before we begin, I'd like to honor those who gave their lives on December 7th, 1941. We should remember them forever. Also to President George Bush and for his service to our country. With that, I ask that we all come to attention and flags will be presented. Chaplain Frank Powders, will you give our invocation, please, and sick call?
I'm pleased to announce that the sick call came up blank this morning. Everybody's in good shape, and I hope you keep that way. Let's bow and know with God that we're here for the purpose of peace, for the purpose of bringing about the good news of living well and in peace in this nation and hopefully in the world. So God, we're with you. We ask that you be with us, each of us, as we go about this business of keeping the peace within ourselves, with our neighbors, and with the other nations of the world. In this endeavor we shall succeed because you are with us, and we praise you for it in the name of the Christ. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the American flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
To the SAR, we,
the descendants of the heroes of the American Revolution, who by their sacrifices established the United States of America, reaffirm our faith in the principles of liberty and our constitutional republic, and solemnly pledge ourselves to defend them against every foe.
We've got America.
we got it?
Sing America.
You gonna sing it?
Yes.
All right.
My
Country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Very good. Thank you very much, Tommy. We'd like to recognize all our female guests. We'll start over here on this side of the room.
This is my wife, Linda Harrison.
Glad to have you, Linda.
You just left. Be about that.
All right. I'd like to introduce my wife, Laura Watts. Thank you very much. And Tom has gifts for them, which I see he's already given, so thank you very much, Tom. Have you opened the gifts yet? Let me know what's in them. No? Okay. Well, that works. Hospitality chairman, Ralph.
Yeah, Chalmers on there, and I tried to greet all of you. We welcome you and hope you have a good time. Bill, get a little closer to the mic, please.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. I'd like to recognize our guests, and our main guest is Tom Jackson, our state president. Frank Pounders and Tracy Pounders. There they are right there. We have Gary Lovell, our state vice president. We've got John Greer and Jim Johnson. Leslie Anderson. There he is. And don't miss anybody.
Yes. Bob Second.
Bob who?
Second.
Glad to meet you. I don't know you, so glad to have you here. Anyone else? All right. We have a moment of levity, and if you look on your tables, you should have something called LOTT. And we'll let you read those because apparently they're kind of funny. I haven't seen one yet. Would Ross McDowell please come forward? We're going to beat him with a stick. Tom Whitelock is going to present him with something very special.
Over the years, Ralph has been the one who has reminded you that it's not difficult to attend the meeting. You just get up, dress, and come to the meeting. Well, he's been doing this for a number of years. I keep trying to catch him in perfect attendance, but he won't let me. He says he'll outlive me, and I'll never make the record. But today we have a special certificate. We had hoped to have the first president to present him his first certificate of perfect attendance, Mike Mannequin. But he's out of town, or he knew that it was out and decided to leave town, one of the two. In any case, let me read this to you. Texas Society extends its sincere appreciation to Ralph L. McDowell, member of the Dallas chapter, and awards this special certificate of recognition for obtaining 25 years of perfect attendance. Starting October 12, 1992 to this date. And he'll have a few words for you, I'm sure, because he's very proud of it, but he's also proud of this chapter. And we are very thankful for his contribution, continual, and all of the services he's provided our chapter members. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Tom.
You hold that for him. I'm going to get it.
Hang on, Tom.
Well, a little clumsy here, but I want to open my binder. But you move that Thank you. I want to move that binder. Can you hear me, fellas and ladies? So, yeah, that's true. We started this a good while ago, and I've got a certificate every year from the president of the chapter, and I think it would be a good opportunity for us to think back of the leaders, the presidents of this chapter, because I have their names and their certificate in this little binder. So let me do that. I think it will be a nice remembrance. 1994, that's when I got the first one from Michael Mannequin. 95, Art Ingalls. 96, Richard Arnold. Richard Arnold went on to be the state president. The interesting story about Richard and Art, I think Richard Arnold was the first member to get a uniform. And he and Art Ingalls, they were in, Richard had a Jeep. They were in the University Park, Highland Park parade, 4th of July parade. And as the parade proceeded, a lot of the parade members, they throw candy out, you know. So anyway, they were finished the parade and they were sitting there in their Jeep. And some lady walked up to them. She said, "Well, what are you giving away?" Art Ingalls said, "We gave you liberty, what else do you want?" Going on with Richard Jones. Richard is now in Florida. Then I came along in 98, gave myself a certificate. Harry Post, Mark Hanson, Gary Sisson, Clifford Slagle. Cliff was state treasurer for a number of years. Jack Carney, Tracy Pounders. Tracy, hold up your hand. There he is, right there. Great Tracy. Tom Whitelock, of course we all know Tom.
Yeah.
I don't think the chapter would do did as well without Tom. He's great. Tom Smith. Tom, raise your hand back there, please.
Yeah.
Tom's mother, Tom was at Lehigh University, and his mother was a DAR. And she said, "Tom, you're going to get into the SAR." And he did. Now today, how many years has it been, Tom? 50 what?
60.
No, it's more than 50.
60.
Oh, 60. There we go. Anybody in here can beat 60? No. Bob Kittrell, where are you, Bob? How many years you have?
The chapter, probably 55.
55. You're like Tom. You're pushing Tom.
Yeah.
Tom's pushing me. Okay, let's proceed. I'm sorry to take so much time. Tom Whitelock, and Tom Smith. Yeah, Charles Baker. Charles used to tell us jokes all the time, and he's now in rehab here in this institution. Robert Clark. Robert also went on to be state president. Henry Vogel. Frank Pounders. There's our great man right there. Frank Pounders. Frank, we love you. You're so great. David Temple. Bob Northcraft. Nick Harper. Nick. There he goes, our great Nick Harper. Keeps track of our money. Here we have Robert Kittrell. Does a tremendous job with the color guard now. George Ranford, 15. He did it also in 16. He's the only one on my list that served 2 terms as president. Mike Petridis. And we wind up here with Bill Watts. Now, you stop and think about that, fellas. It's quite a large number of leaders. And it's a great honor to receive this certificate. I really appreciate it. What does 25 years mean? Well, it's just a number. But if you add it up, that's 300 meetings. 300. You think about how many show up to these meetings, 35, 40? Hey, I've had breakfast with over 10,000 of you guys. You add it all up. That's quite an achievement.
And he didn't pay for one of them.
300 times to say the pledge to our flags and sing "God Bless America." That's wonderful. That's probably the greatest. Ben Franklin had a saying in his Poor Richard Almanacs that he published. He said, "A true friend is the best possession." And I believe he got it right. Thank you, fellas.
wasn't too long. For 25 years, you get to say a few words. And to be President, Jim Johnson.
Introducing our Americanism speaker, Tom.
Good morning, everybody. It's difficult to follow a couple of people like that. I can tell you this, Ralph. With my late entrance into SAR, I will never, ever catch your attendance or your years. I just won't be here that long.
I don't think you can do it, Tom.
I could. I mean, I missed your 90th birthday. Maybe somebody will come to mind. Anyhow, this morning I have a great pleasure. A number of you know our Americanism speaker because he's an ex officio member of the Dallas chapter. He's been around here a long time. Dr. James Jefferson Johnson, Jr. is a native Texan born in Sweetwater. He received his bachelor's degree in art education at West Texas State University in 1957, master's degree in public secondary school administration with a minor in art was completed at the University of Texas at El Paso in 1964. He was awarded his doctor's degree in art education with a minor in art at the Pennsylvania State University at State College, Pennsylvania in 1967. He taught art, and I hope I get this right, at Ysleta? Good. Ysleta High School in El Paso for 7 years, and drawing and art education at the University of North Texas for 27 years. He has studied watercolor with well-known artists including Boar Utter, Buckley McCurran, Arnold Lindar, and a bunch of other guys that I don't know. But you spent a lot of time with some great people on that. Since 1968, Dr. Johnson has been intensely involved in community activities. His area of involvement have included the Denton County Theater, North Texas Area Art League, the Greater Denton Art Council, the Denton County Historical Society, Denton Chapter number 23 of the Texas Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, and Trinity Presbyterian Church. James also has served as the state SAR historian, the state color guard commander, and is the recipient of the Patriot Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Johnson.
Yankee Doodle went to town celebrating Christmas. He danced and ate all night long, then went about his business. There are actually 3 parts to this presentation, and usually when I make a presentation, I introduce myself as my alter ego, whom several of you know, John Trumbull, painter of the American Revolution. And I also do a program on John Trumbull. But today I would like to concentrate on 3 areas. First of all, the origin and religious celebration of Christmas, which obviously we're all familiar with. It's a Christian holiday. And then the second thing would be the traditions of Christmas from colonial times all the way up to the present. The third thing is there is an amazing amount of events that occurred during December. In the years before and immediately after the American Revolution, in about a 10-year period from 1773 to 1783. So this is basically some of the things we're going to be dealing with. And first of all, Christopher Columbus when he sailed to the New World, the Santa Maria ran aground at Hispaniola on Christmas Day. Columbus took this as a sign that God wanted him to establish a town or a city there, and so he established the Via de la Natividad, or the city of the Nativity. Well, Christmas was tough in those early years. In 1607 in Jamestown, there were approximately 100 colonists, and by December, there were only 30 some odd. Well, they obviously prayed to God, and they had a small, primarily religious Christmas celebration, and shortly after, they received aid from England, from the mother country. In terms of, again, the religion, you have to look at the two geographic areas. First of all, New England, and then secondly, the South, of which Virginia was primarily the main focus. In the North, in New England, the Puritans actually passed a law against bacchanalian Christmases. Any secular celebration of Christmas was against the law. Cotton Mather, whom many of you may have heard of, said, "Can you, in your conscience, think that our holy Savior is honored by mad mirth, by long eating, by hard drinking, by lewd gaming, by rude reveling? If you do think this, then surely the burning wrath of God will break forth among you." So Cotton Mather had definite ideas about the secular celebration of Christmas. The celebration of Christmas, particularly in Virginia, it primarily consisted of parties, a lot of eating, a lot of wonderful, wonderful food, and a lot of visiting. This is a time when you got in your coaches and you traveled around to family and friends, and you also visited and partook of the wonderful things to eat. And among the things to eat was the traditional Christmas dinner. And it wasn't just at Christmas, all during the 2-week period, there was a lot of this kind of thing. I'd like for my dear friend John Greer to pass these around. Dancing, as I said, was another one of the popular amusements during the 18th century, particularly in the South, in Virginia. This one is actually a little later. This is 1789 at the White House, and this is George Washington entertaining guests, and they're dancing probably the Virginia Reel. Santa Claus is very, very popular in our culture, and the idea of gift giving is relatively new. During colonial times, there was very little gift giving. Masters would reward slaves, usually on the day after Christmas, by gifts, and children sometimes would get gifts. But the idea of mutual gift giving is a much later idea, 1840s and about the time of the Civil War in the 1860s. In 1842, a teacher in Williamsburg, as a matter of fact, was from Germany, and he brought over the custom of the Christmas tree. And the Germans actually celebrated St. Nicholas Day on December 6th. In 1860, just before the Civil War, there was a political cartoonist by the name of Thomas Nast. And Thomas Nast is the one that created the image that we call Santa Claus. Now, as I said, during colonial times, it didn't consist of gift giving. It did consist probably of the hanging of the greens, but not Christmas decorations as we know them. And it did consist of a lot of partying, a lot of eating, and there was a missionary by the name of Philip Fithian, and Mr. Fithian in 1773, he published the notion that Christmas was parties and having a good time and so forth. And then a few years later, during the Revolution, he was known to say that it was just another day, that not a shot was fired, and people went about their business in a usual way. Christmas is come. Hang on the pot. Let spits turn around and ovens be hot. Beef, pork, and poultry now provide to feast thy neighbors at this tide. Then wash all down with good wine and beer, and so with mirth conclude the year. And so that's pretty much how they celebrated during colonial times. And then, as we know, it evolved into what we do today. The third thing that I want to share with you is there's an amazing amount of events that occurred during December, during the American Revolution, and the period just before. December 16th, 1773, the Boston Tea Party, where some patriots donned what they thought was Native American-like clothing, and they threw the tea cask into the harbor. This was the first really physical act of aggression on the part of the colonists. In 1773 also, on December 25th, there was a petition to remove or recall Governor Hutchinson, who was the British governor of the colonies, and he lived in the palace in Williamsburg. This also in December of 1773, the first Jewish sermon was printed in the colonies. In 1774, on December 12th, George Washington signed the Fairfax Resolve, which barred the import of slaves, and it also had an impact on exports. December 14th, 1774, John Sullivan and 400 New Hampshire militia seized Fort William and Mary, which was an early military action in the Revolution. On December Actually, I have December 16th here, but I think it was actually on December 3rd. John Paul Jones raised the first American flag, which was called the Grand Union flag, aboard the flagship Alfred. And he was a lieutenant, and I usually say a young lieutenant raised the flag, and he just happened to be named John Paul Jones. But anyway, here's John Paul Jones. On December 31st, 1775, General Montgomery, who was in charge of the troops who invaded Canada, was killed, and he died. And here, as a matter of fact, if I'm in the persona of John Trumbull, this is one of my paintings, John Trumbull's paintings, and it's the death of General Montgomery. In 1776, on December 4th, Ben Franklin arrives in France to negotiate a treaty with the French. And here we have the Honorable Ben Franklin. And then here we have an antique portrait of Ben Franklin. On December 19th, 1776, Thomas Paine published his Crisis. And these are the times that try men's souls. On December 25th, 1776, General George Washington crossed the Delaware 9 times en route to attack the Hessians at Trenton. In December 1777, the first English-language American edition of the New Testament was published. On December 25th, 1777, Conway, who was an officer under Washington's command, tried to overthrow Washington and in conspiracy with General Gates, tried to get rid of Washington. It was unsuccessful, and Washington remained commander of the troops. December 25th, 1777. And we have Washington crossing on December 25th, 1776. We have Washington crossing the Delaware 9 times. Interestingly enough, that painting was done 100 years later by a German. And so, on December 25th, 1777, was the famous Christmas at Valley Forge. And here we have the Christmas at Valley Forge. And there were 900 huts built. They were 15 square feet by 6.5 feet tall. Joseph Penn Martin, who was a soldier in that encampment, the leaves and the ground were as wet as water could make them. Forced by old master necessity, to lie down with 2 other of our constant companions, fatigue and hunger. In December 1778, we're almost there, folks. In December of 1778, on December 29th, a British seaborne expedition from New York with 3,500 men captures Savannah, Georgia. In 1779, on December 26th, British General Clinton leaves New York with 8,000 and captures Charleston. What's interesting is that the general that surrendered at Charleston was General Benjamin Lincoln. And an irony is that at Yorktown, the British commander refused to appear, so he sent a subordinate with his sword to General Washington. General Washington would not accept the subordinate, and he sent the subordinate to General Benjamin Lincoln. So there was an irony there. December 1780, free persons of color petitioned the Massachusetts General Court for relief from taxes. In December 1780 also, and then here's another irony, gave each white volunteer one slave as an inducement to enlist. Earlier, they had also, because the British were allowing slaves to join the army, earlier the Continental Army also allowed slaves to join the army. December 28th, Britain declares war on the Dutch. Now, why does Britain declare war on the Dutch? Because the Dutch recognized us. In 1782, the first English Bible was printed in what is now the United States. In 1782 also, the Virginia legislature makes it legal to free slaves. In England, the letter A is discontinued. You may remember that the letter A signified an adulterer, and that practice was discontinued in 1782 in England. George Washington at Fraunces Tavern on December 4th, 1783, says goodbye to his officers. Also in 1783, the increasing number of loyalists who were loyal to Britain and could no longer stay here flee to Canada. And there are still descendants of the loyalists living in Canada today. December 23rd, and George Washington surrenders his commission. And these paintings of Washington are actually from earlier battles, but he surrenders his commission on December 23rd, 1783, to the Congress at Annapolis. And he makes a statement that, another irony, he says that I leave the enjoyments of public life. And in parentheses, I might add, for a while. Okay, that basically are the things that occurred during the American Revolution during December. It's interesting to note that both Monticello and Williamsburg sell these Christmas tree ornaments, of which I have several at home. That is a continental musician. The musicians wore red coats like the British. And of course the capital of the colonies during the colonial period was Williamsburg. And a lot of the customs that we've talked about are ones that are still practiced today in Williamsburg. And here, some of you may recognize Ron Barker and his lovely wife, and myself. This was when we were at Williamsburg. Yankee Doodle went to town celebrating Christmas. He ate, he danced, and he drank all night long, then went about his business. Okay, very good.
I do have a question, sir.
What?
Do you still engage in the practice of wherever you go, pulling out your sketch pad, and all the pretty ladies in the room lining up in front of you for you to sketch them?
I made a bet with Tom Van Fossen that you would bring that up. And I was right. Yes, as a matter of fact, I still carry my sketchbook and draw the pretty ladies.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Don't go on, let's see what it is.
Bill, will you join me? Well, thank you for a Yankee Doodle Christmas. It's nice to meet a new friend, even though you have a lot of former friends here, or older friends here. But I appreciate the time you gave us this morning. I look forward to the next time you can address us. And in appreciation, we would like to give you that. Bill?
Thank you very much.
And the Liberty Bell.
Thank you very, very much.
As you finish with the pictures, you just keep passing them around until they come back to Jim here. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Tom Jackson. He is one of the best guys I know with the SAR. I know several of them. Tom is a Texas State SAR president, 2018-2019. He's also the president of the Council of State Presidents at the national level. Most recently, he served as chair of the host society of the 2018-19 National SAR Congress, which was held in Houston. That was a great conference. He has been a member of the SAR since 2004 with 12 proven patriots. First line signer on 30 SAR applications. He has proven 41 SAR patriots for his son. National recognitions include the Carl F. Besant Award, Aide-de-Camp. He is an avid amateur genealogist belonging to over 20 other lineage societies serving at both state and national level. Professionally, he is a CPA, CGMA, and a CISA. Both his undergraduate and graduate studies were at the University of Texas at Austin. Majority of his career has been employed as Chief Financial Officer of companies, public and private. He is published in his two primary areas of study. He has taught at the university level. He is in his 30th year of elected public service. He is currently serving his 8th year as trustee with Cypress Fairbanks ISD, the largest suburban district in the United States. He has attained master trustee status and was one of 42 trustees who served the state of Texas. He has 3 children and 3 grandchildren. I'd like to welcome Tom.
President Watts, Judge, Chancellor, Tracy Pounders, Vice President Lovell. In the words of Thomas Jefferson, I am well pleased to be here.
Yeah.
The Dallas area is the nexus of leadership and strength for the Society of the Sons of the American Revolution in Texas. If you look, as John Greer has, at the source of our presidents, many have come from this area, and I applaud you for that. I heard you talk about that you wished you had more in attendance. I'm well pleased with your attendance. From my view, as long as one of us stands in remembrance of the founding of our country, we all still stand for America. A couple of thoughts I want to share with you, and I'll try and move away from the podium. I'm not accustomed to being tethered, but my voice may not be strong enough. I have spoken to about 15,000 children and adults over the past 15 years. What most of the kids think is either I wear a Civil War uniform or I'm a pirate. I love being called a pirate because I think Johnny Depp is way cool, and I'm fascinated that the kids would think I look like Johnny Depp. I always like to remind us of what our primary goals are. As John Greer would tell you, there are 4 Texans who went on to become president of these United States. I asked First Vice President Van Fossen, but also President Bill Watts, if I could share this very brief vignette with you.
20th century founding father.
Let me tell you, George Bush was president of the United States of America. Every single head of government in the world knew that they were dealing with a genuine leader, one who was distinguished, resolute, and brave. And he was a man of such great humility. Those who travel the high road of humility in Washington, D.C. are not bothered by heavy traffic. He had a very serious flaw, known by all close to it. He loved a good joke. The richer, the better. And he threw his head back and gave it a great laugh, but he never, ever could remember a punchline. I mean, never. So the punchline for George Herbert Walker Bush is this. You would have wanted him on your side.
I said, Dad, I love you. You've been a wonderful father. And the last words he would ever say on earth were, I love you too. To us, he was close to perfect, but not totally perfect. His short game was lousy. So through our tears, let us know the blessings of knowing and loving you. A great and noble man. The best father a son or daughter could have. And in our grief, let us smile on the dad is hugging Robin and holding mom's hand again.
Some have said in the last few days, this is an end of an era. But it does not have to be. Perhaps it's an invitation to fill the hole that has been left behind. If you want to honor him, and if you call yourself a daughter or a son of God, you love God, love your neighbor. There's no greater mission on planet Earth.
Father sent me home, and my time's not true. This friend, my time's not true. This
Kick it.
Well, I can always do it the old-fashioned way, right? Thank you for permitting me to share that with you. John Greer, several years ago, when I was staff secretary, said, Tom, we need to do something about the notable individuals from Texas who are members of our organization. And I said, John, you're exactly right. And he has been on this mission ever since. But names keep popping up. So we all know that Bill Clements was a member. He, in fact, brought in one of the state presidents, Bob Clark. Fairly interesting, right? But take a look at the rest of these names. The largest dorm at the University of Texas is called Jester Dorm, after the Jester family. Governor Ross Sterling is a member. John just found him out this very year. Ross Sterling, founder of Sterling Bank, but also one of the founders of Humboldt Oil. John and I, in the past few days, have identified the fact that Governor Hogg is, in fact, descended from a patriot. In all likelihood, Ima was a member of the DAR. Sadly, the DAR has closed the Hogg line. Because when Ima got in, it was all by affidavit of who you knew. We are working on Governor Abbott. We have identified that he does in fact have a patriot ancestor, but proving the pathway between the late 1700s and about 1805 is proving challenging because there's 5 different people with the same name. As every president does, I had certain initiatives and objectives to try and introduce in the scant 12 months I have to serve you. Obviously, the very top one is that of membership. I would like for us to move our membership from sustainable, which is where we are, to being robust. The difference is being sustainable, we exist, we impact education, we impact patriotism. Being robust is what the daughters are. Here in the state of Texas, there are 6 times our size. They hit 10 times the number of schools because their membership is more robust. To do this, I'm asking us to try and focus to have year-over-year 5% growth. That doesn't sound like an unachievable objective. We always bring into our society 300 or 400 people each and every year. And each and every year we always lose 300 or 400 people. A keystone of this concept, and I'm great, I'm really like Thomas Jefferson and Winston Churchill. I love to steal other people's ideas and put them into print. I think it's a great practice. So borrowing upon what Dr. Bob Cohen and Dr. Jane Cohen put together 3 years ago, they conceived of the DAR Finder Form. First contest was held last year. Texas finished first. And I have chatted with Home Office, and once again, it looks like we will finish first in the nation for the largest number of DAR Finder Forms. The impact of it is last year, half of all of our members came to us with help from the ladies. I have now started something different that I hope my successors will follow. I am now going to the DAR meetings to make a presentation to those ladies. The impact you would not believe. I asked for 3 minutes, but as Judge Pounders know, any good elected official will always take more time than you're allocated, right? So I used 6 or 7. The response is superb. We're planting seeds, and I hope those ladies who asked for a copy of that finder form will in fact bring us their sons, their brothers, their husbands. One other aspect. Do I have anybody here from East Fork Trinity?
Oh, yeah.
If you notice up here, the very first item that I said that we had to do to be able to increase membership is have a tracking system. East Fork Trinity, if you take a look at their newsletter, has in fact established that tracking system. They have about 2 or 3 pages of potential members, and you stay on top of it. Without a tracking system, you can't follow up. But if you publish what you're doing and who you're tracking, the results will be superb. So hats off to East Fork Trinity. A pet peeve of mine, being in the education field, is at the national level, I hear my compatriots continually say, our public schools are not teaching American history the way it should be. And I always tell them, you go talk to the elected officials in your state and make your complaints. Don't talk to the public schools. One of them called me a communist, one of them has called me a socialist, and that's okay. In my 30th year, I've been called all kinds of names on the campaign trail. But the fact of the matter is, the state of Texas tells public schools who to teach and what to study. And that is no different from Texas to Arkansas to Missouri. And so I posited, when P.G. Lawrence was sitting PG, that every state should identify what the curriculum is from K through 12. Nobody took up the banner. I decided if I talk it, I have to walk it. So I went ahead, and if you take a look at our website, I have a section that explains what TEKs are. Anybody in here in the public school arena or have children who taught at the public school level? A few. So you know what TEKs are for the state of Texas. An explanation is now posted on our website, and then I have 3 buttons. Elementary, middle, and high school is what the TEKs are that require us to teach our children. Quick run through for National Congress. We opened at the Czech Museum, Best in Class Award from the rank and file attendees. It was absolutely amazing. The ladies were in charge of it. I gave them my ideas, and they said, Tom, those are really bad ideas. And so I said, fine, you do it. And they did it, and it was superb. Catherine Massey is only the 2nd person in our organization ever to receive the Silver Congress Appreciation Medal. In January, I will go to their meeting in River Oaks to present the medal to her in the presence of the Alexander DAR chapter once again. We also received Best in Class accolades for our registration. Significant. If you see our welcome table, our color guard came up with that idea, and they said, we want to stand here with color guard members for the entire 6 days. And I thought, golly, how are you going to get people to be there for 12-hour shifts 6 days in a row? Let me tell you something. The color guard came through in a big way. As soon as our 400 guests walked in, they saw the color guard table. It was magnificent. But more than that, behind the scenes, we had people, and you'll see David Temple up there, who stuffed the bags for registration, but also stuffed what we call the swag bags, right? Y'all know what swag is. Stuff we all get. That Saturday, we started 2 tours. Bush 41. I complained to Bob Cohen. People were so impressed with the Bush 41 tour, not only did they tell me about it that day, and I'm working the event, right? So it's nice that people want to talk to me, but I have things I have to do. They were telling me about it all the way when I was trying to leave the hotel. There were 3 SAR members left at the hotel. Paul Callanan, myself, and this couple from Washington in this car. I'm packing up. I have my caddy there. I'm getting ready to pull out, and this car pulls in front of me, and I'm thinking, great. Did I hit your door? I don't remember doing it. The woman gets out, and I'm thinking, great. Now I have an angry lady to deal with. I'm tired, 16-hour days. All I want to do is go home, and she says, Tom. I don't recognize her, but somehow she knows my name. I want you to know that we had the best time of any Congress here in Houston. And the Bush 41 people tell them they did a whale of a job. And they did. But more than that, I heard this when I went to South Central in Missouri. I heard it again in Louisville for fall leadership. P.G. Lawrence is in a van waiting for me downstairs. I'm running late like I always run. Tom Whitelock will tell you that. I'm trying to get on the elevator. I had to make stops with people before I left. I'm walking in. Somebody grabs me by the collar of my coat, pulls me out of the elevator. And I'm thinking, golly, grabbing me by my collar? Am I getting ready to be in a fight? Tom, tell the folks back in Texas, we thoroughly enjoyed the Congress. Best one I've ever attended. We gave our people 2 options. You can either go to Bush 41 or you can go to the Space Center. The mayor of Nassau Bay came. The lady who has been in charge of training astronauts for 30 years came to speak. Interesting, we have very few female astronauts. The person in charge of training was female. Tremendous accolades for that. but also tremendous accolades to the Galvez chapter. They did a whale of a job. And then, of course, there's the host reception. We had competing visions for this. We put it to the Board of Managers. Your elected representatives made this decision. Some of the highlights. We brought in a pin of Texas Longhorns. When I said we had to have it, everybody thought I was crazy. I am crazy. But let me tell you something. The folks from up east loved them, but the ones who got the biggest kick were our compatriots and their wives from France and those from Hawaii.
Yeah.
We had Texas singers who were there, brought to us by the Society of the War of 1812. We also auctioned off a Texas ranch, and the winner of the Texas ranch was none other than the wife of P.G. Alter. We also had Judge Pounders. You should know that both at Bush 41, but also here at the host reception, we inducted 2 more judges. And I have charged John Greer with preparing a list for our website of all the judges in Texas who are members of the SAR. We just have the wife of former National Regent Young. He won re-election, judge of Collin County. But something else that we did that's never been done. This is a pop-up, right? It's kind of old hat, it's old marketing. So we had all of our wine and beer donated to us. We started with a seed donation from Yano, which is out there in Lubbock where Texas Tech is. And they said, we'll give you 5 cases. And I said, that's not enough for 600 people. 5 cases is all we'll do. But we'll give you something else. They gave us one of their pop-ups. You can't read it. You're too far away from the screen, so I'll tell you what it says. Brave men didn't die at the Alamo to sip California wine. Now, the California people looked a little cheeky about it. Everybody else loved it and had their picture taken by it. We also, for the first time in Congress, had a green screen photo booth. You had 4 different images of Texas, and you could have your picture taken behind it. We also, for the first time ever, pulled out a step and repeat. Anybody here know what a step and repeat is? So if you go to say a chamber event, often to football events, there will be a 6x8 piece of vinyl, and it has repeating logos on it. So our logo, we had the great state of Texas, a star where National Congress was, and of course, since we're Texas, we had 2 different logos, right? Our logos were running across, and so chapters could go and have their picture taken, standing in front of it, as did others. P.G. White and his wife were in charge. For those of y'all who have never been to a memorial service at National Congress, it is in fact moving. We had over 600 people in the congregation. You'll notice in the top that's President Bob Cohen. He's carrying the Texas flag. Carrying the Texas flag is a high honor at National Congress. Despite the fact that he was president about 5 terms ago, this was the first time he ever carried the Texas flag. We always have a color guard breakfast before the memorial session. Something else that we did, stealing a page out of the book of P.G. Nathan White, is we awarded a Gold Good Citizenship Medal. Your board of managers in here know about it because they voted on it. Who here knows who Mattress Mac is? A couple. Mattress Mac was one of the 1,000 points of light from President Bush. Mattress Mac has been recognized, Jim McIngvale, who also has a revolutionary ancestor, has been recognized by a total of 5 different presidents. He came and spoke to us at the opening. He brought the house down. Standing ovation on his way out. Judge Cagle also came. Judge Cagle is also on our target list. Commissioner, his part of Harris County, of which he's a commissioner, is large. Would, if it were a separate city, would be in the top 20. 1.4 million constituents. And of course, Dave McLeod, his daughter out of the Tyler chapter, won first place in the essay contest. And then as Congress ended after the black tie events, we had a couple of tours. One of which was San Jacinto. Somehow, President Tom Green was able to take 60 some odd people to San Jacinto in 100-degree heat, and they loved the experience. I thought he was absolutely crazy. He said, Tom, don't worry about it. We got this. And lo and behold, they did. The other tour that we offered the same day was to the Museum District. P.T. Lawrence was in charge of it. And they primarily had two choices. Museum of Fine Arts, Museum of Natural Science. Now, the folks from up east, we said, when you go to natural science, don't touch the dinosaurs, right? Golly, I mean, look what happened. It'll never be the same. A quick rundown. I won't spend much time. What founders do we study at the high school level? We all know the study of American history now starts after Reconstruction. That would say we don't study any founders. Take a look here. Here are 7 founders who our children are required to study at the high school level, even though they were founders, and the study of American history starts in the late 1800s. So at least in Texas, we have not forgotten to study our founders. But let me take a look at, we also know about our fathers very quickly. Anybody know who the father of the counterintelligence is? John Jay. Who here has been to the National Archives? Right, so when you walk in, you see 2 massive 40-foot-long murals by Barry Faulkner. They're absolutely amazing. When I talk to school kids, I always bring up paintings. The paintings are, in fact, they have a message. They're very evocative. Very quickly, you'll notice the man with the sword, the only one with the sword out of all the founders there. That's that hothead, Colonel Alexander Hamilton. So take a look here. Of the founders that our children are supposed to study, post-Reconstruction, who is the father of American medicine? Do I have any physicians in the room? Benjamin Rush. You're entirely correct. Yes, sir. Our children have to study about Benjamin Rush. Who was General of the Black Rose? Reverend Pounders is in here, so I know he already knows the answer, but I suspect not many of the rest of you do. General Muhlenberg. He was also a reverend. He did, in fact, give, as lore has it, his last sermon from the pulpit and basically commanded every able-bodied man in his congregation to join the cause. If you take a look at the list here, Reverend Charles Carroll is also on it, a Catholic leader who joined the cause, picking up arms. Very quickly, some of the founders that are required to be studied in government class at the high school level that many of us know nothing about. One is James Wilson. He committed absolute treason. He wrote that the power to rule does not come from God to the king to Parliament, but that the power to rule comes from the people, up to their elected representatives. You know the phrase, no taxation without representation? You go back to this man. I won't read everything, but if you were close enough to see what I have highlighted, you will see that virtually every significant aspect of the Constitution is tied to what this man wrote. He is considered to be second only to Madison as having the greatest impact upon our Constitution. Our children study him. I dare say the rest of us when we were in high school did not. James Wilson, a firebrand, he was like Icarus. He soared high, the sun melted his wings, he died a pauper, he spent time in debtor's jail, and died with virtually nobody at his burial. I am glad that here in Texas, our children remember James Wilson. One other name. Who here knows who George Mason is, right? They almost won the NCAA championship. They beat Connecticut. They beat Michigan. They were the Cinderella team. George Mason very quickly is known as the father of the Bill of Rights. You would be amazed at how many of our compatriots are unaware of him, but our school children have to study him. And the last I want to mention to you is Hamilton and the impact of art and music on the American Revolution. You will recall that the Treasurer of the United States was pushing to have Hamilton taken off the $10 bill. President Obama's family went to New York. They saw the play. President Obama did not. But he visited with the cast after the musical. Thereafter, we don't know what happened, but all we know is the treasurer decided to stop his campaign to remove Hamilton from the 10 and instead focus on Andrew Jackson. Many of my compatriots who have seen Hamilton the musical did not like it. I loved it. Except for the skin color, everything else was absolutely historically accurate. The rap music of the Americans is contrasted with the staid, old, slow music of the British. You even had revolutionary music in it. But in that musical, they talk about him being an immigrant. He's advised smile more. They talk about him being young and brash. And they identify his conflict with Jefferson as well. Hamilton was an amazing person. He made friends at the highest levels, and he repudiated each and every one of them, including George Washington. And so that concludes my presentation. I know I've gone over time. I apologize. But you knew I was a politician before I took the floor in front of you. Thank you ever so much. I will remind you that for National Congress, you gave us authority to spend up to $38,000. We tried to be good stewards of your money. The Internal Audit Department of the State Society reviewed our spending, and they concluded we came in $14,000 under budget. In addition, big kudos go to P.G. White. His wife did all the centerpieces for under $200. Tennessee used $5,000. Carolina used $12,000 for the centerpieces. $200 is magnificent. She was supported by the ladies. In addition, P.G. Lawrence used his political capital and got us $5,000 of free county buses. The Texas Society did a tremendous job. I'll close with one last comment. You know, they tell the story of a teacher who came to a town, and this teacher, and many, and I think I would too, say he was a great teacher, but he chose to ride the back of a donkey when he went to this town. And when he came into the town, everybody stood up and cheered and waved. That donkey heard those cheers. That donkey never for a minute thought those cheers were for him. And so in a similar fashion, although I have heard cheers from across our nation, I don't for a minute think those cheers were for what I did. Those cheers are instead for what you, the Texas Society, through your presence and your contributions, have done. So I thank you and I salute you. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Tom?
Yes, sir. While they're looking for paperwork, I would also like to give accolades to your president, Bill Watts. He engaged on a pathway that has changed the nature and course of our National Museum. He looked at a concept called augmented reality. And he pushed it and he showed how augmented reality can in fact have a place. All museums in the future will have augmented reality. What that means is you go to a famous painting by Trumbull, say at Washington crossing the Delaware, you put your iPhone or Android device up to it, you push a software button, and all of a sudden the painting comes alive and talks to you. They're already doing this in Europe. They tend to be ahead of us a little bit more on museums. But because of your chapter president, Bill Watts, he has changed the course of our National Museum. We all are seeds, are pebbles being dropped in a pond. We never know what impact we have. But Bill, I want to say thank you for having done that.
It was fun. We'd like to present you with a certificate. Thank you. And we also have, flip this way a minute. We also have, and
oh my goodness,
remember what it says, Thomas I. Jackson, as your wings take flight next year, as Dallas chapter compatriots wish to express their appreciation for your long and outstanding service to our SAR Society.
Thank you ever so much. Let me turn you around.
I'm not there yet. And something that I just came across a couple months ago, the National Society has issued a challenge coin for our 250th anniversary. And I was able to acquire a couple, and I'd like to hopefully be the first person, first chapter in Texas or nationwide to present you with a challenge coin for the 250th anniversary.
And indeed you are.
Thank you very much.
And
This is from the chapter.
As long as we talk about challenge coins, see, I'll keep talking even during photo ops. I'm shameless. Remember, I have a box of Texas challenge coins. For a donation of just one Hamilton, you get one challenge coin. We aren't selling these because we don't pay sales tax. But if you make a donation of at least one Hamilton, you'll get one challenge coin. If you want to give us 10 Hamiltons, it's your choice. Do you want one challenge coin or 10? So all I need is one Hamilton. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Would Gary Harrison?
Right.
Great. I'm sorry. Great.
Ray Harrison and Mark and Linda.
I've got vice presidents here. Sometimes it messes up. Would you like to come forward, please? And Tom, you're going to induct him?
Yes.
That's his spot.
Mom's going to pin.
Mom's going to pin.
My grandkids.
Do we have the pin?
The pin is being handed to me.
Are we ready?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Well, appreciate it.
Compatriot Gary Harrison.
Great.
Right. Sorry.
Compatriot Gray Harrison, having been accepted as a member of the Dallas chapter of the Texas Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, do you, as a descendant of one of the patriots and heroes of the American Revolution, reaffirm your ancestors' faith in the principles of liberty
and our constitutional republic? You may respond by saying, I will.
I will.
And will you pledge to support the patriotic, historical, and educational objectives of the National Society Sons of the American Revolution?
I will.
I now take great pleasure in having your membership certificate being presented.
Thank you.
I would further ask that your mother come forward and place the SAR rosette in the lapel of your coat. This rosette is the official recognition emblem of the Sons of the American Revolution. Its blue and buff colors represent the colors in the uniform worn by General George Washington. Please wear it proudly. Compatriot Harrison, we welcome you to the Dallas chapter. We ask that you work with them to fulfill the purposes and objectives of the Sons of the American Revolution. At this time, you will be asked to address your chapter. If you want to say something about your ancestor, that is also possible. The microphone is yours, Compatriot Harrison.
Thanks, sir. Just a quick comment. His father was inducted last meeting, and they are jointly going to address their ancestors today.
Excellent.
Thank you. We'd like to talk about my fifth great-grandfather, Lieutenant Richard Sutton. He was an American patriot who was involved in the very earliest days of the war. The Sutton family came to America in the 1630s, probably from Lancaster, England. This would have been Lieutenant Sutton's great-grandfather, Richard Sutton. They settled in eastern Massachusetts in the Ipswich area. The Sutton family was active in civic life in Massachusetts from the very earliest days. His grandfather, Corporal Richard Sutton, was involved in a tax protest in 1687 that led to a minor revolution in 1689 that resulted in the Massachusetts Charter. And many of the issues that came to fruition in 1775 arose from this small revolution. His father, William Sutton, was involved in the War of Austrian Secession, also known as King George's War, in 1745 at the Siege of Louisburg, fighting obviously with the British Army. Our patriot was born in Ipswich in 1736. He was active in local activities and worked making leather briefs. He married Elizabeth Foster, a lace maker, in 1758. He was a colonial private in Captain Thomas Pepper's company, Colonel William Bridle's regiment, in the expedition against Crown Point in 1755 and later against Quebec in 1760 in the French and Indian.
Richard Sutton was my sixth great-grandfather. Richard answered the call to American independence in April 1775 at the age of 39. He participated as a private in Captain Daniel Rogers' company at both of the alarms at Lexington and Concord. He later commissioned on 7th May 1776 as a second lieutenant in Captain Ebenezer Lord's 5th Company, 3rd Essex Regiment of the Massachusetts Militia. In June 1775, he participated in the Battle of Bunker Hill. In 1776, he participated as second lieutenant on the march on Danbury, Connecticut. At the end of 1776 and early 1777, he was in Captain Caleb Brooks' company, Colonel Dyke's regiment, and was credited to the town of Lexington and charged with guarding stores at Boston. After the Revolutionary War concluded, he continued to live in Ipswich, where he was considered a leading citizen with his leather business. After losing his beloved Elizabeth, he married Rebecca Foster. When his end came, Christmas Day, 1825, he left a widow, 4 children, 58 grandchildren, and 43 great-grandchildren. The hero of the American Revolution lived a great and respectable life as he helped move us towards American independence. Thank you. Yes, very good.
Compatriot Harrison, let me be the first on behalf of the Texas Society of the Sons of the American Revolution to welcome you into our organization. We are an organization that attracts elite people who choose to become part of our organization with the only requirement that their ancestors fought to create our country. So I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor. Thank you. And thank you all. I really appreciate it. No problem.
Now, which committee is he going to chair?
I have a list.
Oh, yeah, we got one question. Which committee do you want to serve? You got 5 minutes.
There you go.
Good job.
We got the challenge going. Thank you. Thank you all. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time.
One more thing.
Do it. No.
I'll do it later.
Register.
Oh, excuse me. No, okay, I'm sorry. No problem.
It's time for us to elect our officers for 2019. They are, as presented to me, Thomas F. Van Fossen for President. First Vice President of Programs, Mark H. Harrison. Second Vice President of Awards, Alan A. Prather. Secretary, Tom M. Whitelock. Treasurer, Carl N. Harper. Registrar, Jerry W. Pinkerton. Chaplain, Frank H. Pounders. Historian, Joseph A. Sloanaker. Are there any additions?
Mr. President, I move that we elect the slate of officers by acclamation.
Second vote. I was going to ask if there were any other additions first.
Any nominations?
Any nominations from the floor? Okay.
And I renew my motion.
All right. Then we have a second as well. So our slate of officers are official. All right, moving on. Officers' reports. Tom, Van Fossen, do you have anything to say?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I should take a vote on my motion.
Well, I thought we just did.
No, I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I'm asleep at the wheel. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There were no nays. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
No caps, no punctuation.
First Vice President, you got anything to say?
Yes, again, thanks for all your help, and your name is Jim, yourself, Jim Johnson here, so for all the help you gave me doing the program. Next year it's going to be in great hands. Mark and I are going to work together. I'll give you some boost that I didn't have. So I've learned a lot.
Much needed.
But I appreciate all the help you got, and I'm looking forward to next year doing some good things.
Yes, sir. That's great. Second Vice President. Secretary.
A reminder that annual report is due. I will be calling upon all of you at 2 o'clock in the morning to provide me with your input, unless, of course, you prefer to write it down and get it to me, so that we can place all of your activities, your involvements, your visitations with veterans, the like, your contributions and donations like we had this morning in front, so that we can have a goodly amount representation in our record of activities this past year. I need it ASAP. End of the year is the final, and your executive committee will be putting it together, but I want to get started on those things that I can tabulate right away. That means Veterans Committee Chairman, that means Color Guard Chairman, that means those individuals that represent any of the committees and the officers. You need to turn in those reports as quickly as possible. I now make a motion, having posted the minutes for the last meeting, as well as distributing for approval on last month's minutes.
It's been seconded. Who first did?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Been approved. Treasurer's report. Carl? Okay. Are the treasury reports on the tables?
Yes.
Can I make a motion to approve it?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor of the treasury report as stated on your tables, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Financial reports don't require approval.
Sir?
Said financial reports do not require approval.
All right. Thank you.
We trust him if he's staying still in the United States.
Well, he left early, so I just... You take the checkbook with me?
No, I've got the cameras outside there.
Okay, registrar. Anything?
Yes, first I'd like we all get to introduce one of my proteges who got promoted ahead of me. Jerry Brown is the state registrar.
Correct.
Yeah.
My report is that I currently have, the chapter currently have 7 memberships submitted either to Jerry or to National, and that's 7 adult memberships. One of them has 3 sons, so there are 10 pending at this stage.
Well done.
And we should get several of those in the next month.
Okay. Do we have a current status of how many members we have?
I don't have it, but the number is in the neighborhood of 250 to 260.
No.
I've had a little trouble getting my private side of it, but I would say it's like 257.
Oh, is it?
The final count by the state secretary will be at the end of December.
Historian.
We're getting ready to close out the year's scrapbook. If anybody has any pictures or videos that they have not submitted, please email me that information and I can get it into the scrapbook. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to mention is we have recordings of all our meetings, thanks to Joseph. It's been really great to view those. If you have not viewed the recordings of our meetings, please do so. It's a wonderful experience. I want to thank you for that personally. Thank you. Chaplain's report.
Is this closed out or what?
Whatever you got. You got
God
anything?
bless every one of you. And know it, and feel it, and express it.
Okay.
Pass the offering plate.
And you'll collect the money, right? And you'll collect the money.
That's right. That's what says Nick.
Membership chairman. Anything to say?
I don't know if that's me or not, but
Yep.
membership, of course, we just mentioned. But in this room, I want to ask a serious question. Have you paid your dues?
Yes.
I don't think so. Paid your dues, that's good. Every year. In January, February, we'll have like 50 that haven't paid. I don't think there's any excuse for that. We'll wind up losing probably 20 of those 50. So if you know anyone personally, be sure they pay their dues. And I want to present $60 from Kroger's to Nick for your shopping. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Nick's still here?
He's not here. Let's see him now.
Okay.
You can correct the shortfall of receiving money for your dues by becoming a life member. Many of us here today are life members, and it's a good investment, and it assures you that any increases in costs on the national and state levels, you don't have to worry about it anymore once you have a life membership. So I suggest that you go ahead and buy that. It's a good investment, and it's recession-proof. You never get the increases. Let's see. Cogar, anything?
The only thing is I reinforce what Tom said about everybody sent in their veterans worksheet. If you Gavel, and get all your activities, the Coast Guard activities. Please send email that to Tom. He needs it for this annual report. Desperate. I mean, time's running out. So.
All right. BSA, SA, okay? Veterans Affairs.
Yes, with the winter here, the veterans need stuff. A lot of them are coming off the street in. Okay, so if we could get personal items, coffee, games, jackets, that would be appreciated very much. And I'd like to propose that everybody that comes, every meeting they bring something. Our veterans are priceless, and we need to support them more. James, do you have anything to say?
No. Thank you. Yes, sir.
It was mentioned in the newsletter, but again, I'll emphasize our compatriot Warren Johnson is having a drive in the general community areas where he lives, as well as in some of the churches there. And he is going to share in the collection of clothing and warm underwear and so forth with us to take to the VA hospital. He'll turn the rest of it over to Catholic Charities, but mostly the larger, heavier coats for the vets. And one thing that we desperately need are suitcases and backpacks. As the men and women transit through the hospital and are out of it, they've got nothing to carry their clothing and their personal items in. They came in without one. They need them to go back out. So if you have fairly good condition, but a suitcase or travel kit, case, or backpack that you are not using or won't be using, please bring that so that we can gather it up. In the last quarter, over 1,000 suitcases were collected for Bonham. We feed into Lancaster's VA, so I'd like to be able to offer that through John and James to present to them within the next 2 months.
Let me say one word about those jackets John brought up. The thrift stores, Goodwill, have jackets. They're really in short supply. That's where I got 2 jackets for $6 a piece with a senior discount at one place, and the other place it was on sale. So you get those, good condition. You got to do a little work, you go to these stores, and maybe they have 1 jacket. And then I got 2. One I had to get clean. But that's not, you don't have to have a jacket hanging in your closet, And, so.
And blankets too.
Blankets.
Desperate.
Shoes. Socks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, CARSA events. Nick. Okay, any old business? Any new business? Any bills against the chapter?
It's been taken care of.
Huh?
It's been taken care of.
Next, take care of that, okay.
One of them was the new, or the medal for life-saving.
Okay.
That we had not had an opportunity last year to work into our community service awards, but I acquired a couple of them, and so we'll be looking to the new year to do that.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else? All right.
Do we need to vote on that to give you your money back?
No, the chapter takes care of the cost of it. They better.
Okay, next we have the door prize drawing.
Check that out. Birthday glass upside down.
Are you going to take care of passing out?
I just brought it up because Nick isn't here.
All right. Will you tell me when we're getting wrong prizes then? Is this getting shook up enough, guys? And what I'll do is I'll just drop on the table like that, make them up. Okay, I'm gonna read the last three numbers, 873.
Whoever sitting here,
Huh?
there's a ticket here for whoever sitting here.
But we'll throw that away. 862.
One ain't back.
885.
Yes. There you go.
872. 872. 877. There we go.
That's yours.
How are we doing? How many more?
Got four more.
Four more? 871.
They said one chance.
Okay. 861.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Jerry. Remember to
865.
Hey, that's my job.
I think there was an extra one over there.
How many more?
Three.
We got one coming.
Got one coming. 882. You know, even though I shake these things up and spread them out on this desk, I'm still getting them close to the same nose.
That's it.
Is that it? All right. We had some winners and we had some losers. But since you were here, you are all winners. Okay. The chaplain Pounders, please lead us in our benediction.
Amen. God, as we live here with you in our heart and in our inspiration. We
Appreciate that.
and tell others of the news that you are here with us, and that this nation must remain free, and that we must be the ones that keep it to do that. With your guidance, with your power, with your wisdom, and your presence, we shall succeed in the name of the Christ. Amen. Amen.
Until we meet again, let us remember our obligations to our forefathers who gave us our Constitution